and welcome. I'm gonna turn the TV off so y'all don't get distracted. Welcome to my first, what are we gonna call this? Real talk coffee chat. How about that? So as you can see, I'm super exhausted, but what better of a way to have a real talk coffee chat? Real talk coffee talk. Real talk coffee talk? We'll do real talk coffee talk. What better of a way than to start a real talk coffee talk thing by being completely exhausted. I just got off of 3 12s in a row, which, as you know, if you're a nurse, you know that really that means like 3 13s-ish. And your girl is exhausted. I had a code yesterday and did CPR for the first time, so your girl is really tired. So I asked you guys to ask me questions on YouTube, and if you didn't see that, just make sure that you are subscribed to me with your notifications on, and then you'll know when I post things like that for Q&As. I'm gonna answer some of the most popular like thumbs up questions that people asked on here. I'm going to try to be very honest about these. Some of them I will be very brief with, just for time's sake, and sometimes like I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. We'll just kind of roll with it. I'll be more elaborate with some answers and I'll be very brief with other answers. So yeah, if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you're following me on Instagram. That's usually where I post the most. I've not been able to post as much on YouTube as I would have liked, just because life's crazy, y'all, and I'm exhausted all the time. So let's just get into these questions. If I remember, I'll try to put timestamps either in the description or in the comments with the questions that I'm answering. So the first question and most liked question is from Hannah Tomnos. I will try to say your names. If I butcher them, apologies in advance. How is your work environment like, and how do you deal with newbie nurse bullying? I'm afraid of stepping into a nurses eat their young environment. Well, Hannah, I have been incredibly blessed to be on a unit where not a single person has bullied me. My work environment is amazing, and I'm honestly surprised, because that was one of my biggest fears as well, because that is a thing where, you know, nurses eat their young, and everybody has been really supportive, which has been really nice. I think I feel more annoying than other people are annoyed with me, if that makes sense. I've been really blessed in that. It's very important with a job. If you go to a job interview and you just get a weird vibe, try to stay away from that place. Olivia Frazier asks, what misconceptions did you have about being a nurse that you now realize being one? I don't know if it's so much misconceptions. It's really hard to know what it's like to be a nurse until you're a nurse. Like, school can't prepare you for it, clinicals can't prepare you for it. It is a lot different than I thought it would be, but I can't explain how. It's really hard. You're just juggling a lot of things. I don't know, it's just really weird. It's really hard to go from school to being a nurse, and I can't explain why that transition is difficult. Kendall Vineyard asks, what do you think is the most difficult part of being a new grad nurse so far? The most difficult part about being a new grad nurse is there are so many little things to learn, and you think when you become a nurse that it's just gonna be like super awesome and like you've worked so hard and you're just gonna like get on the floor and be like an awesome nurse, and unfortunately that's just not the way it is. I mean, I feel like I am a good nurse, but there's so many little things to learn. It's truly exhausting. Being a nurse, being a seasoned nurse is exhausting, and then you add in all of the learning that you're doing, like, you know, who the doctors are, who the nurses are, you know, which is the ordering doctor, which hospitalist is on today, how do you put in this order, how do you get meds from the pharmacy when they're not in, you know, when they're not up for you. All of these tiny little seemingly menial tasks that you have to like add all together while you're taking care of 5 to 6 or however many patients. That's honestly the most difficult part, is just kind of like getting used to your unit, getting used to the flow, and like how to do these really ridiculous little tasks that are actually still very important. Kendall also asked, and more specifically, what do you think is the most difficult part of med-surg? I think the most difficult part of med-surg is it's also kind of the best part though, because you get so many different things that you're learning a lot, but it's also crazy that you don't really have a whole lot of routine to the types of patients that you get, if that makes sense. I think the most common diagnosis that I deal with is probably COPD, but other than that, I've had a little bit of everything. Like COPD and chest pain, those are pretty common on my med surg floor. But other than that, it's just, you never know what you're gonna get, really. And that's like the most difficult part, but also the best part, because as a med surg nurse, you know a little bit about everything, which is kind of nice. I've been getting asked this so much, you guys, and I don't really know how to answer it. How do you know nursing is right for you? This is just such an individual thing. I really can't guide you towards whether nursing is right or wrong for you. And honestly, there's some days where I even question, like, why did I choose nursing? But you also have those days where you're reminded why you wanted to go into nursing. If you really have a passion for helping people, it's probably for you. But it's not easy. And I actually saw a quote, and I'm gonna tell you guys this quote because, you know, with my day yesterday, it's hard, you guys. Like, being a nurse is really hard. It's really draining. And let me find this quote. It was such a good quote. One thing too, when you're having like a rough day, looking at like quotes, like I searched being a nurse quotes, it just helps you feel a little bit better, and it helps you kind of like understand your feelings a little bit more, if that makes sense, especially when you have like a code situation or you lose a patient or both or whatever. But it said, being a nurse is knowing when to turn on your tough and when to turn on your human, and finding the balance in between for those in need. And honestly, I find that really difficult, because taking care of somebody who's not doing well, when you're taking care of the situation and you're dealing with the situation, it's really easy to be tough. Like, it's not hard at all. It's like, you know, when you have not a great outcome and the family is upset, and that is really hard. And you know, you want to be, it's such a weird feeling. You want to be tough, but it's also okay to be upset, if that makes sense. It's hard finding that balance, because you have to keep your cool, because after somebody passes away, you have to continue on taking care of the rest of your patients. So that's a tough balance. But I don't know, I just wanted to share that quote because it spoke to me today. I hope my neighbors aren't like looking at me like I'm nuts. Somebody's driving. What up? Jay Sapp asks, throughout nursing school, especially during clinicals, did you ever feel like you weren't going to be a good nurse and that you weren't smart enough? I think everybody deals with that, because even as a new nurse, you don't know that much. Like, as a baby nurse, like myself, you have so much to learn. And even seasoned nurses have so much, like, there's always something to learn. I wouldn't be so hard on yourself, because you can never possibly know everything that you need to know about nursing, truly. So don't get down on yourself. You are smart enough. As long as you can connect the dots and put it into play when it needs to be put into play, you're gonna be fine. It's totally normal to feel like that. Oh, hey, it's Deanna. Basically said that she's in her final semester of nursing school, and that she has a job offer in the ICU and med surg, and that kind of talks about how I had, you guys know, or if you don't know, I really was set on peds. And I was like, I'm only doing peds, like peds is my dream, and it still is. But I did choose a position in med surg, and she just kind of asked, like, what advice would I give? So the advice with that is, hold on, let's drink some coffee here. A specialty that you love is important. However, it is not the most important thing. And I get asked this a lot, like, are you glad that you chose med surg over peds or labor and delivery? And honestly, I am glad. Do I think med surg is necessarily my calling? I don't think so, but I do like it. But the thing that is way more important to me than the specialty that I'm in is the people that I work with. And it's so easy to get hung up on a specialty, but you have to, there's more to take into consideration in a job than just the specialty. You could literally have your dream job and your dream specialty and literally hate every single person that you work with. You could be on a unit where there's no teamwork, where there's, you know, nurses eat their young mentality, and even though it's the specialty of your dream, you're gonna hate your job. Or you can, which is what I did, and you guys can watch, I'll link up an Eye in the Sky, like where I talk about how I chose my specialty. But even though med surg isn't like my calling, and I'm not like, whatever, you guys know what I mean. Like, I like my job, I do. and I am passionate about my job. But obviously I have a passion for the little people too. But the people that I work with, my manager is so amazing. The people that I work with have been so amazing. I've been with 3 different people for like throughout my preceptorship, and I'm gonna have more. Have been so amazing, you guys. And that is so much more important to me than the specialty. I know that probably sounds really weird, but I'm telling you, your work environment, the teamwork, and like your management, that is so important. So if you ever go and do an interview and you just don't vibe well with your manager, like that needs to set off some red flags, because you have to like the people that you're working with. If you go and do an interview, make sure you can tour the unit and just like say hi to people. And I know it sounds really weird and it's probably hard to put yourself out there, but just like say hi to people and just see like how they interact with you. And that's my advice. Don't choose something solely on the specialty, because you have a long time of being a nurse and you can change specialties. It's going to be much more difficult to start in an environment where you dread coming into work, because being a new nurse is hard enough as it is, and you'll dread going to work solely just because you're learning so much and it's new. So that alone has been a struggle for me, and I can't imagine being on a unit where I felt uncomfortable and unwelcomed. Does that make sense? That was a big tangent, but I feel it's very important. Hannah Heil asks, how did you stay positive in nursing school? I'm gonna be real here. You are very lucky to be in nursing school. And I know that it's very difficult, and it is. And I cried a lot in nursing school, and I still cry now as a new nurse. It's hard. And sometimes it's hard to stay positive. And I know it's easy to say like, you know, you're so blessed to be in nursing school, because I'm sure you probably know that. But you just have to be grateful that you have this opportunity to be in nursing school, and anything worth having is worth fighting for. And it's not supposed to be easy, because you have to keep people alive. You have to know your shit. So that's how you just have to keep swimming. You know, find something that you love. Exercise, which is so important and has been so key during my new nurse journey here. But just don't completely drown yourself in nursing school. Find that one little thing that can make you happy. Go out with your friends every once in a while. Maybe don't get wasted, but you know, go out for dinner. Just do your best. Taylor McNaughton asked, do you plan to do med-surg long-term, or are you wanting to move to a specialty after getting your experience in med-surg? Like I said, I do have a passion in peds, but I have no immediate plans to switch ever, especially since I like who I work with as much as I do. I'm just kind of rolling with it. I'm just taking in the experience that I'm in right now, and I really am not thinking about the future right now. I'm just trying to get my bearings in med-surg right now. Miranda W. We know you've been under a lot of stress. What things do you do for your mental health to decrease some of that stress? This is so important, you guys. Thank you, Miranda, for asking this question. And I know this is 16-ish minutes into this video, so I really truly hope people are watching this part, because it's so important. You have to exercise. You have to. And I know some people don't like it. You got to do it. I have tried numerous other things to try to manage my stress. I've tried meditation, which does help a little bit. I've tried yoga on its own, which helped a little bit. But really, within the past, I don't know, I think the past 2 weeks I've started running. And I was kind of dabbling, like running a little bit here and then doing yoga a little bit there. And just like finding other stuff, like, you know, kind of pouring myself more into YouTube and stuff like that. But nothing has helped me like exercise. Exercise increases your mood. You get endorphins. I don't know what it is. Even my preceptor, you guys, not yesterday, Saturday. It was Saturday, and I had to take a rest day just because I exercised 4 days in a row. I truly needed a rest day. And I got there and I was like really sluggish. She's like, and she even made a comment like, I can't believe like, you know, that it works so well for you. She noticed my anxiety was better, because as a new nurse, you are so anxious because you're learning so much and you don't know what's gonna come. So it's like, there's a level of anxiety with that. My anxiety has been better. I am just much less stressed. I don't get frazzled as easily. I just am more level-headed, and it's all just because of exercise. And you could literally just go for like a 20-minute speed walk or just whatever, and seriously, that is enough to like level you out. Nothing has helped more for me, especially struggling with just like you know, being down and being anxious, like most of my life, nothing has ever helped me as much as exercise. And I feel like I'm a broken record. You guys can follow me. I'll put right here. You guys can follow me on my like exercise Instagram. That's pretty much where I post like, you know, my exercise related stuff. Nothing's gonna help your mental health as much as exercise. If you're really like against that whole exercise thing, one other thing that's really important is you have to take one day off, which is especially difficult when you have children. But you can still do this, but you have to take one day off a week where you literally do nothing. And today, that is my day for me, even though I'm technically not. I'm making this video for you guys, and then I'll edit it. But you have to take a day off for yourself, or you will literally lose your shit. I am speaking from experience. Super speaking from experience. And you guys can watch all the videos that I've been making since I've become a nurse, and I talk about it a lot, that it's been very difficult, but nothing has helped me as much as exercise. I swear, it is literally a night and day difference. My preceptor noticed the difference, you guys, like for real. Renee Frenson asked, I'm taking the last 3 science classes that you need to get into nursing school. They seem pretty tough. I'm wondering if the classes for nursing school are just as tough. The classes for nursing school are even more difficult because it's not about memorizing and regurgitating. You have to actually be able to critically think through the questions in nursing school, which is what most people struggle with in nursing school. They are much more difficult, unfortunately, but you got this. Lauren Who asks, do you feel like you get more or less time with your family now than you did in school? I definitely get more time with my family. It is challenging when I work 12 to 13 hour to 14 hour shifts, because if I work 3 in a row, I really don't see the kids just because I get them up and I put them to bed. Sometimes they're in bed by the time I get home, but I definitely get more days with them because I work 3 days-ish. So then I have 4 days off. It'll be a little bit different when I work nights. I'm hoping that I'm starting nights in a few days. So I'm hoping that with nights, I'll be able to see my kids for a couple hours, like after school and then before I go to work. But I see them a lot more because I have more days off, and when I get home from work, I'm done. I don't have to study. Whereas when you're in school, you have class all day and then you have to study afterwards. So, and that's like every single day. So I see my kids a lot more than when I did in school. So if you're a parent, keep trucking. It'll be worth it. You'll still be stressed, but it'll be worth it. Betul Kablan, I'm really sorry if I butchered your name. Did you work as a CNA during nursing school? Do you recommend it? I did not work as a CNA during nursing school because, as most of you know, YouTube is kind of my side hustle, and I make a little bit of money, like a part-time income on YouTube. So that's kind of my passion. So I just continued making YouTube videos at home because I was able to stay home and do that. However, I absolutely 154% recommend working as a tech or a CNA. We call them techs. The new grads that I'm working with that worked as techs, they are definitely a little bit ahead of me, just because they have more of that experience. If I didn't do YouTube, I 154% would have worked as a tech. It is super beneficial. So if you have that opportunity, definitely take it up, because it'll get you comfortable in that environment and transferring patients, and all kinds of stuff, all kinds of, you know, the CNA stuff. So definitely recommend it. Christina Behan asks, are most doctors actually mean to nurses? Love your channel, by the way. I wouldn't say doctors are mean to nurses. I don't know if it's just because I work with pretty great doctors. I mean, you're gonna have people in any profession where you just have those few that just aren't friendly. And I don't think it's necessarily a doctor thing. I think some doctors have just different personalities and you can't take it personally, if that makes sense. I haven't had a doctor be mean, but doctors have bad days just like everybody else. And when they work long hours, I understand why they get super grumpy. Just like how when we work long hours, we get super grumpy sometimes. I wouldn't say that most doctors are mean to nurses, absolutely not. I've had really great experiences with doctors. You know, I had a rapid response a couple weeks ago and the doctor was amazing, and, you know, was saying, like, while I was, you know, dealing with the situation, like, she's gonna make such a great nurse, and just talking me up, and that was really amazing. And then yesterday we had a code, we had an unstable patient, and the doctor actually was with us throughout all of it once the doctor was aware that the situation was kind of sketchy, which was really amazing as well. So no, I don't think most doctors are actually mean to nurses. You're just gonna have a doctor that's just gonna have a bad day every once in a while, but everybody has bad days. So Davita Strickland asked, I start nursing classes next month. Any tips for a study schedule for multiple classes? How do I keep up with each class efficiently? So when you're in nursing school and you have numerous exams, you'll typically have like at least one exam a week. Sometimes you'll have all of your exams in the same week. And what you need to do is you need to prioritize. And it's actually a really beneficial tip for when you're an actual nurse. You basically just have to pick, okay, so I am not doing so well in this. You mind? Yeah. You basically have to be like, I'm not doing so well in this class, or this class has more credits, or this class is more important. Typically, you'll have one class that's really important, and you'll have to just prioritize how much you need to study for that class, if that makes sense. So it's all about prioritization. You can't possibly study everything that you need to for every class, unfortunately. You just have to figure out which one is most important. Frank Griswold asks, do you feel like school prepared you for your job? I feel like I'm not retaining as much as I should be. No nursing program can ever prepare you for your job. That is just the nature of it. Nursing is such, there's so much to learn in nursing. They could never possibly prepare you enough. They just want to prepare you with the basics so that you have a foundation to build on once you become a nurse. Paige Kathleen asks, how long has it taken you to get used to your Danskos? I actually took my Danskos back, and the leopard print ones that I posted on my Instagram, I took them back. However, I did go back and I actually just purchased some the other day. And they're literally just black, because I tried on every single pair. This was the third time I went to try to buy Danskos, because Danskos are hand sewn, so every single shoe fits differently. So I kept going in, and I would even grab like the same style, and I would try on like each individual shoe. And my feet are, each foot is a little bit different, so I needed a little bit different of a fit, but I did finally find some. I absolutely love them. I've been wearing them. So I have 2 pairs of shoes that I've been wearing at work. I just have some old running shoes with really good insoles in them. And then I have my Danskos. I've been wearing my Danskos about half the day. My feet are just a little bit sore. But the first day that I wore them the whole day minus like 2 hours. So I wore them for like 10 to 11 hours. And my feet were only a little bit sore. You just really have to make sure that your Danskos fit properly. They're supposed to be a clog. So your toes aren't supposed to touch the front of it. And the heel of your foot is not supposed to touch the back of it. Your foot is supposed to kind of almost flop out a little bit while you're walking, if that makes sense. And some people don't like that, and I didn't think I would, but the support that they provide is totally worth it. So that's my Danskos advice. Nakia Berry asks, were you nervous about becoming a new nurse towards the end of nursing school? And what are good strategies to overcome that fear or anxiety? Absolutely. I was towards the end of nursing school, it was really setting in like, holy crap, I'm gonna be a nurse. And that's totally normal. And my best advice to give you as a new nurse or a new grad is you have to really learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I feel like all nurses are a little bit of control freaks, and you just have to have faith in the process. And like when I first started, I was terrified to like do a glucose. Which I don't really do, the techs do most of the glucoses, but you know, every new experience that I had only done maybe once in nursing school or had never done before, I was petrified. As soon as my preceptor would be like, okay, we're gonna go do this, I would be like, ah, like on the inside, obviously. And now I'm just like, okay, never done it before, let's go give it a shot. You know, like, you just have to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Obviously, with that said, don't go and do something if you have no clue what you're doing. You always want to, like, even as a new nurse, even during like orientation, I'm not gonna get every single experience that I'm going to use as a nurse. So once you're off orientation, you just grab like charge or, you know, a friend that you've made and make sure that you know what you're doing. Find the policy and do it, but you just have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. There's just no way around it. You're gonna be uncomfortable and you're not gonna know what you're doing half the time. You're gonna know what you're doing textbook wise, but textbook isn't always the same as reality. You know what I mean. Best and worst part of nursing. The best part is like making a difference, but I think the worst part is knowing that unfortunately nursing is a little bit of an underappreciated profession sometimes, which I think is any profession really. It's just the hours are long, the days are hard. It's a lot harder than I thought it was gonna be. I knew it was gonna be hard, but it takes a physical and emotional toll on you, where really you kind of think when you go into nursing that it's just a physical toll, but it's the combination of the physical and emotional toll that makes nursing difficult. There, that's my answer. Nat Mendez asks, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, how much do you like your current job? Probably a solid 6. Probably a solid 6. And that's just because I'm learning. Ariana Moreno asks, how do you stay fit? Lunch ideas. When do you work out? How much do you do? How do I stay fit? I'm not really fit. I'm trying to get fit, but I'm not really fit. When do I work out? Whenever I can. Typically in the mornings, but now I'm switching to nights, so I don't know. I'll keep you posted. Lunch ideas. So what I do is I make a batch of rice. Sometimes it'll be a batch of rice and a batch of beans and then veggies, and those will be my lunch. Otherwise, the other thing that my husband and I do is I make 2 huge batches of soup, and I freeze half of it, and then the other half stays in the fridge, and then I also toss that over rice. I don't want to think about it, and we just eat the same 2 soups. So that's what we do, and that's how I eat healthy most of the time. Maria Vargas, do you recommend a year of general med surg before jumping into a specialty, or not necessary? If you get a job in a specialty that you absolutely love, I definitely think that it's fine to hop into that without med surg. However, if you're not super sure, or like, the only reason that I chose med surg before going to peds is because peds is a specialty in the fact that it's tiny humans, but I'm still going to be dealing with the whole body with peds, so that's why I kind of chose med surg. If you have been dreaming your whole entire life of being an L&D nurse and you can get a job in L&D, go on with your bad self. What's one thing they didn't teach you in nursing school that you wish you would have known? I think I wish I would have known how difficult that transition is. They did not emphasize the transition enough, and that was challenging. Also, they teach you about how to deal with the families when you lose a patient, but they don't teach you how to deal with it yourself. They kind of, like, at least my program, like, very vaguely touched on self-care, but I think that that's a really hard balance. Is when you lose a patient, it's really hard. And when I lost my first patient, I did film the day after. I still don't know if I'm gonna post it because it's very vulnerable, but they don't teach you how to deal with it on your own.
And I just wanted to add that it can be a very lonely experience when you're first dealing with your first patient deaths, because the seasoned nurses have good coping skills, but as a new nurse, you don't have that yet. So if you are feeling alone, just know that you're not, and try to talk to somebody about it if you can.
You know, how to deal with your emotions and your feelings. And as a new nurse, it weighs more heavily on you because you haven't learned those coping skills yet. Not that when you're a seasoned nurse that you don't feel a death, you have better coping skills, and learning those coping skills is really hard. And I've been just trying to ask other nurse friends who've been nurses longer, like, what they do to cope with it. And Nurse Liz, shout out to Nurse Liz, I'll link her in the eye in the sky. She has been truly amazing to me. Like, I'm so blessed to have found her. She's a nurse practitioner now, but she did work as a nurse for I think 5 years or so. But that was hard, you guys. You can't learn that in nursing school though. But I just wish that they would have talked about it and talked about how to deal with it. Kiss Sanad asks, do you want to go back to grad school? Not anytime soon, but maybe someday. I do have the hopes of someday being a nurse practitioner, but I am so sick of school. All right, you guys, that is so many questions. I'm gonna stop here. I will definitely do another one of these in the future. Let me know if you want me to do another one in the future. If you liked this video, please let me know if you liked this video in the comments. I will see you guys in my next video. I'm gonna go relax for the rest of the day.
Yeah, we're just gonna snuggle. Okay, you guys, my mom's gotta go. But thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Okay, bye, Charles.